real.
All right, hey brothers. I guess we already started talking, so yeah, everybody, we all have something to add, right? We all have something to add to this. Let me throw in this little deal about immortality, and this is very there's very few people who they might say that they know it, but to really have it inside that you really think that you are physically immortal is extremely rare. What I'm coming to find out, but it's so basic. I mean, we are not meant to die off like we do, and I know we're going to talk about the things that kill us off, but I just wanted to say that we are all, even at the age of 100, if you live to be 100, you're still ignorant. You're not telepathic and teleporting and, you know, affecting the material world around you with your mind, which is what we're capable of. We're not doing that. Babies. They're all babies still, just learning. Anyways, that's all I want to say. So I'm not gonna hog the mic, so to speak.
Oh, all good, all good. Yeah, so I love how you say that we're all telepathic to a certain degree. Yeah, because if you look at the most oldest language known to man in terms of quote unquote history, it's literally click language. And when you look at the click language, even before that, what were they doing? They were probably whistling. Even before that, what they were doing, they were probably humming. And I really gravitate towards the idea of humming even before whistling, because monks, there's certain monks in certain sects. One of my friends used to be part of that sect. He still is, actually. I just lost contact. But in that sect, they would get to a certain state with the breath, and then after breath work, they would start humming. And within the humming, they literally communicate with each other. Literally. So I dive into the whole ideology that breath itself is a language. And even beyond the breath, even beyond humming, what were they doing? They were probably silent. They probably didn't use the mouth. They were just communicating just via breath. And I got confirmation. I get confirmations. Confirmation just comes to me like it's just law of attraction at this point. I just have to accept it. But one of the confirmations I got was through a channeler named Daryl Anchor, and if anyone's familiar, he channels quote unquote Bashar. He's one of the few people who predicted 9/11, and I went to. He's actually one of the few people that helped me quote unquote awaken. That was the first time I meditated, December 31st. I was walking through the Akashic records, and so many beautiful things happened in terms of downloads. So I went to the documentary screening, and I'm in a room filled with scientists and people from all over the world. And live, you literally see him getting into the channel state, and scientists have all these things on his head. And when he gets into the channel state, you literally see a second brain on the screen that reads the brain scanner. It's all in one take too. So everyone in the crowd is really saying this is impossible. And sure enough, after the screening, they told us they were invited to the UN. And then after they went to the UN, every single video he had on YouTube went down. And that now you're only seeing like 5-minute videos from time to time, last time I checked. But yeah. So I think he quote unquote proved himself at the UN, and they were said, okay, this guy's real. Let's control the narrative or control how he puts out things, maybe. So I finally got a one-on-one. It was a live stream. I think the live stream was actually today, actually. But I did a pre-recording of the live stream, and I just asked when he was in the channel state, is it possible beyond how ancient Egypt used the pyramids and different terms of technology in terms of communicating with quote unquote ETs and other dimensions of reality? Because I looked at channeling as using the human technology to channel. Aliens are quote unquote, they've been here. You go to the many tribes in Africa, they've been channeling different states of dimension, realities, and beings. And you go to the Himalayas, and the monks will tell you many various stories, even with Buddha, and getting into that state and communicating with different entities, if you will, that is benevolent in that sense. And I just asked him, can you use the breath as a communicator? He says, that's one of the easiest ways of communicating. And that was just a confirmation I just wanted to share.
Nice. Wow. Well, anything that makes us, man, I have to throw this out there since you're talking about communicating. My girlfriend, her native language is French. And what we're coming to find out is English words like impossible, that they used to use almost interchangeably with English, French. It would be impossible. I'm probably saying that wrong, but I'm learning. But there's so many words in English, almost all of them that we used to use. I mean, impossible is a word we still use, but there are a lot of other words that we've kind of been dumbed down to not use anymore, and it's been replaced with another word that is completely different and is hard to translate into French. So it used to be easier to be an English speaker and understand someone that was speaking French, because the words they were using is what you would use. It just had an English or a French accent, with the alphabet. You just have to know the alphabet, basically, how they're pronouncing the letters. So I feel like we've been progressively dumbed down, and it started with, I believe, is it Devon or Devon, or how do I?
Yeah, no, it's Devon.
Devon. Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's a furtherance of just removing us from what we used to do, which was probably not even use words at all. Just look at each other. We're communicating.
It's sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to kind of put in there, it's interesting with the English language is, even like, for example, the phrase is like a sentence, right? When you write a phrase, the period at the end, they call it a sentence. And notice when you go to jail, when you've been convicted, they say that you've been sentenced to 10 years in prison. So it seems like sentence, we have a sentence for the mind, and then you also have a sentence for the penitentiary, and
dude, they have got us casting spells on ourselves, man.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. I have to throw this little theory of mine out there to you and see what you guys think. I think that we used to have one language. I think that, after the I believe we could communicate with words and without words at one point. And I think this Tartary mud flood thing that's coming out, I believe that those people were advanced. I mean, you look at what they create; those were not oppressed, enslaved people that made those buildings. I don't know if you guys have looked into that at all. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I definitely resonate.
Okay. Yeah, dude, they weren't making that stuff under duress. That was creative.
Yeah, before I touch the Tartarian Empire, I just want to say scientists even have this theory that babies, they might have this quote unquote ancient language. Babies are actually speaking an ancient language. So even when you go close to quote unquote source energy, you look at a baby. That's one of the closest thing in physical reality that is closest source energy. It literally just popped into our reality.
That's true. Came straight from the real, basically, in that little body. No, I didn't want to get deep.
Scientists are now trying to decode baby language at this point. They're doing it like how they did dolphins. And dolphins itself, they were speaking in terms of frequencies and stuff. But now they're trying to literally decode baby language, and they're finding that babies are babies really communicate with other babies if they're like put in front of each other and talk blah 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 blah. They're really communicating. They, you know, there's in terms of you integrate body language in terms of reading them, and it goes so deep. It goes so deep. But yeah, the baby language will probably become a thing one day. But yeah, it's definitely real.
You know, Devon, you kind of remind me of one of my, I consider him like a good friend of mine, Elder, you know. He's one of the few breatharian brothers I know in the Bahamas, and he was talking to me about an experiment that was going on an island. I really don't know the whereabouts, so I obviously can't find it online, but this was kind of some insight that he had about this experiment that was going on with these kids on an island. And apparently these kids had supernatural abilities. They were able to move objects with their mind. They was able to levitate. And what the scientists did, they actually never taught the kids anything when it came to words. You know, like there was no concept of no concept per se of the English language. And these kids, again, had certain abilities that you would, I mean, you know, it's like what you see on TV, you know? And I think when the kids found out that they had a parental figure to answer to, I think one of the parents came, or it really was a shock, you know? So I can't remember that much detail because this was actually this was years ago, but he was talking about the concept of the limitation with thoughts and how these thought forms are penetrating deeper into our psyche, and it really brings some sort of a limitation, you know? So you just reminded me of that talk that we had, you know?
If I could throw this out, it's interesting to me, but I really think that the Tower of Babel story in the Bible is the powers that were bragging about splitting us all up.
Oh, you talking about when they said, let us go down and confuse their language? Yep.
They were doing great things. I mean, this is what they were saying. This is a story I never understood even when I was a Christian. How they would do that because the people were together, you know, they were unified, and they were building this tower to heaven. They called this tower to heaven, you know, symbolizing their advancement as a culture, as a people. And I think it might have been the Tartarians, the Atlanteans, whatever you want to call it. They were probably breatharian. They probably teleported, did mental telepathy. They were able to move heavy objects with their minds, just with their bodies. And you know, we can harness 50 trillion cells with 1.4 volts of electricity per cell, 70 trillion volts of electricity. That's more than they use in a harp when they're modifying weather, and that's in one person.
Yeah.
What the fuck? No wonder they're afraid. No wonder they have to propagate. Why would they spend money on propaganda? This is why I never buy these. The AI is going to take over, and you know, they're going to wipe us all out. Well, yeah, why would they spend so much money? They have the technology to do it now.
Exactly.
Why are they spending so much money on propaganda, so much effort on propaganda to change our minds? Because our mind, the ego is not powerful, but our love, our spirit, our being is powerful, and they know it. And they're nothing in that realm. They're weak in the spirit realm. They're the low vibe.
Yeah.
We're vibing higher, and it's powerful, and they know it. They can't fuck with you.
Now let's. I want to touch on the Bible and then shift it into the Tartarians. So many different ways to read the Bible. You can read it first person, second person, third person. It's just a interesting artifact when it comes to the Bible. When I look at the story you just said a while ago, and then I look at the story of Moses, how he quote unquote split the sea. You know, some people think that he probably split minds and divided a group of people as well. So then when you go to the Tartarian, and anytime you hear like flood in a story or a cover up in terms of a civilization, I think of flood close to quote unquote brainwashing. You know, how they would brainwash the masses. So what if they literally flood information to hide from the masses and, hide the fact that we could be more and grow as a civilization beyond what we've been told. And that's when the Tartarian Empire fell, when they were like tearing down buildings and so forth and so on.
Man, dude, sometimes I feel like okay, this is not true. I was about to say, sometimes I feel like I know everything. That I never feel like that. I never feel like that. But there's so much to learn, man. That's mysterious, and that's a good, it's valid what you said. I don't know.
Yeah, and in honor of Nikola Tesla's birthday, Nikola Tesla, I think, was like literally the last person to really tap into the Tartarian. I think low key, what he really wanted to do with that tower was literally light up all Tartaria all over again.
Thank you.
That's what the tower does, because the tower literally sends frequencies, like literally it's just wireless energy, really. So it's wireless energy, and you're literally shooting it across the earth. It can expand to, I forgot the range, but trust me, it really goes it went really, really far with that much voltage. It went, it went super far.
Oh, look at shortwave radio and how far those radio waves go. That's energy, just energy. I think electricity travels as long as there's conductivity. It's just it's gonna weaken. It's gonna lose some energy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not an electrician, so I don't know what the limits are. But I wonder though, when they were having those world fairs and expos and destroying all these buildings around the world, not to mention the wars where they bombed them out. These cities were lit up, pre-Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
They had the technology. Those there's chateaus all over France right now. And I was kind of keeping this to myself a little bit, almost in a selfish way. I was keeping it to myself. But there are chateaus that are very cheap and that have some of that technology still within the building.
I believe that. There's some places church-wise too that you're not allowed to go to the top floor with our buildings.
Dude. No, it's because God's come on. That's the reason why. So don't even question, my friend. Isn't that crazy though? It's like right in front of our faces, all this stuff. It's been there.
When you look at interesting too, when you talk with the Bible and you kind of, you break down the word testament, and you see that testament means body and ment means mind, and that we moving now to the New Testament at the, at this Aquarius or Aquarian age, at the, the apocalypse, when the truth is being revealed. It's interesting when you look at certain verses in the Bible. Like, I think Jesus might have said this to his disciples. I know it was in the book of John when he spoke about how I have food that you know nothing about, and these interesting phrases, like, again, the one that people know about, man cannot live on bread alone. And, so it seems like right now there is a genetic, the Bible, again, and when it comes to what we call spirituality or applying metaphysics on earth, it comes to understanding genetics, and all these structures or all these paintings all over the earth on the pyramids and the ancient artifacts and stuff like that, and holy books talk about the like kind of a genetically higher human. Like all of them talk about that, like a genetically higher human. And I wanted to actually ask both of you, maybe I could start with Devon. Like Devon, I know that you've been on liquids for, a year now, eh?
Yeah, I went from 80% to 100% a year, about a year now.
Right, 80%. And from when we last spoke, I remember you said you was 80% for like 2 years?
Yeah, I was 80% for about 2 years. And then I went 100% just last year.
Okay. And, Devon, just so, I know when people listening, it's like, were you on like a raw vegan diet for a while, or did you do it cold turkey, or how did
I'm the type of person that that does things cold turkey. Like
that's the same thing Chris said.
Yep.
Yeah,
we don't mess around.
Yeah, the longest transition that took me a while to get into was just getting off dairy. It was the dairy part. That was the longest transition. And then when I beat that, I just went vegan, and then fruitarian a little bit, and then just went fully liquids.
Okay, all right. You fruitarian.
Yeah, my ideology about fruitarianism, like if most of the fruit's already like 90% water, like what's the point of chewing? So that's what led me, and gradually I just did more liquids, and then now I'm just on 100% liquids, if anything.
Right. And how was the healing crisis? Like, was it like, did you go through like, high detoxifications, or?
My healing crisis started in the getting off the cheese. That was like the only time I really had a quote unquote healing crisis, because when I did my first breathwork session, that's when, at that point you can say that was a healing crisis. I cried. I was actually balding at one point, and then I literally just grew all my hair back. That took 2 years, but that healing crisis, I think that's what really sparked up everything, just deteriorating and then regenerating at a faster pace. I noticed my foot fungus went away like dramatically in like 2 weeks of doing more breath work and being on more liquids, because even before my first 2-hour breathwork session a couple of years ago, he had my Sifu, he had me on liquids even before the 2 hours. So it was like, all right, you ready to go? We did the 2 hours, and he goes, like, he looked at me after, I was back into the realm of here and just realizing my breath. He said, now you see why we did 2 hours and why we did the liquid fasting. Like, it all makes sense. And his main point was, the main thing that sticks with me till this day is never force anything. Like, good things are never forced, and it's okay to do it gradually, but always keep in mind of the point of growth in that sense. We can always evolve, we can always grow, and not just one of the main things that helped me go cold turkey, honestly, too, was there's no limit to the human body and capacity that we could do. Because when I look at the breath itself, it also contains argon, and argon itself is a gas that is the most abundant gas in the whole world. So we're literally breathing in argon, which also ties close to quote unquote organ energy. Yeah. And that the breath itself just led me to this point. It really helped a lot. And there were some points where I gave up soup, and I would even before giving up soup, peanut butter in smoothies, peanut butter smoothies. I woke up one morning and I felt the pain like there was no tomorrow. I was like, no more peanut butter. And then I just went into the ideology of like mono is just better at this point. Mono. And then the breath it just leads you to a point where you just have to stop fighting with yourself and just
Yeah.
give in.
That's so true, bro. And I think I'm at that point too with starches, you know, like I'm really, because I meditate a lot, bro. And I even got the pyramid as well. I sleep under it. And it becomes so electrical and feeling the energy even just kind of go up and down the spine. It's like, you know, you become so conscious of the dumb shit you do every day. Like you can't like keep doing it, you know, and it reveals everything, you know. And just want to say, Devon, you still on the coconut water, right?
Yeah, I've been integrating dry fast here and there.
Yeah, I did see.
But mainly coconut water.
Right. Oh, very nice, man. That's
Yeah.
what's up. And you did, and just family, just to say that this brother does about 6 hours of breath work a day.
Yeah.
So,
I got to talk to you a little bit about breath work.
Yeah,
I'll talk to you.
definitely. You know, and Chris, you know, I want to ask now. You know, just kind of share your story, like on your. Well, you're mostly dry, right?
Mostly dry, yes.
Dry, yep. And family, Chris used urine. It was actually urine therapy as the.
That's what got me.
Yep.
Brought me there.
To bridge his way to food freedom. Chris, so share your story, man.
All right, I'll give you a quick. Well, I say it's quick, man. I'm lying. Okay, I'm just straight up lying right now. It's not gonna be quick. It's gonna be as quick as possible. But I don't want to put anybody to sleep. Oh, you know what? There's no. You know the problem sometimes. Okay, I'm gonna say the problem with me sometimes is I'll expect. I should stop right there. I should just not expect anything. But sometimes I expect that other people are going to do things the same way I did them. And that's to me, I don't feel like taking the long, windy road. Just get me the fuck to point B. Like, I want to go there right now. I'm going to do whatever it is that gets me to that point the fastest. And when I started on my journey, I didn't know what breatharian was. I didn't know what a parasite was. I didn't know anything. I really didn't. My first fast that I ever really, my first real fast was in 2008. And I'm trying to remember, I think it was March or February. It was 40 days. It was going to be about 37 days. But then I realized at that point, I thought, just go to 40 because you're not going to remember 37. But here I am remembering 37. It's been 12 years. But I didn't have not a crumb. I did that master cleanse where you squeeze the lemon juice and mix the maple syrup. You know, it's not the best thing, but what it does, it gets that training of wanting to chew something 3 times a day out of your head. And you do forget about food. I almost don't even think it matters as far as what the liquid is. Just stop eating. That's huge. Stop putting that dense mass into your body and let your colon empty out. And I don't care if you're drinking coconut. I mean, yes, different things are better, different things aren't as good. But just stop eating. That's the main thing. Let that fat, bloated ass colon you got with just parasites crawling all through it, let that thing clean out. Let it empty out. Let your body deal with it. And so you have to stop eating food, no matter what your liquid of choice is. And when I say liquid of choice, don't think you're going to be, drinking alcohol or that's your liquid of choice. I don't know who could even survive something like that. But
yeah. Common sense, like right.
So that was my first experience with fasting, and that was at a time where I had already, my whole life, I've known things were off. And I think that's probably something that could be said for all of us. I'm not going to presume that everybody's like me, but I feel like we all kind of knew, even from a very young age, that things just weren't what we were told, just put it that way. And So I started really finding out a lot of things. In the mid 90s, I found out there was a cure for cancer, and that just ended my trust in everything, the system. Ended it. You're going to watch little kids die to make money, and you're going to suppress real cures. And I'm using words that people can understand, but we know that it's not a cure. We know there's no disease. We know it's dis-ease. So I'm not, I'm just using the lingo, but basically I found out there was a cure for cancer, and I started telling people that it was apricot seeds. That's one. The cure. We know what the cure is. It's health, fasting, and everything else. But there are things that can kill cancer. One of those is apricot seeds. And so many people, dude. I was buying bags of those things and just giving them out to people, telling people. This is before the internet really was what it is now. Nobody knew. I was crazy basically to those people, even just for that. So fast forward 2007. I realized really that war was a complete racket. I had been in the Navy for almost 6 years, and I didn't like what I saw even when I was in. But in 2007, I learned the depths of everything. CIA, these agencies, what they really do, what my tax money was funding, and I was just done with the whole thing. And like you said, Devon, about cold turkey, I was cold turkey. It was like American dream. I really didn't have the American dream. I've always been kind of a simple guy. I've always wanted to live off the land and all that, so I wasn't really into the American dream. But let's just say I had trust in the whole white picket fence, and you could attain that. Everything was cool, and no, that was it, man. Once I realized they were using my money to fund wars and harm people, that was it for me. And so things really changed, and I hated the food industry. I knew they were crap to begin with, but I really had a renewed sense of urgency. And I will tell you, in 2008, I had a lot of fear, because I just didn't know what to expect, and I was believing, fear-based prophecy, which I don't entertain anymore, because we manifest what we want. And yeah, things are crappy right now, but honestly, the system kind of has to crumble to move out of the way, honestly, or really not move out of the way, but just we are creating the world right now. So I guess nothing really has to crumble. But see what I said? I'm trying to make this quick, and I go off on the rabbit trails, and I'm sorry. So here, I'm gonna make this quick. So 2008, 40 days got me used to not eating food. It was very difficult, even though I had the lemon juice and all that. It was very difficult to do, and I think I probably got rid of a lot of parasites even back then. And I know there's different levels.
And sorry, when you did the 40 days, was that like, did you like prepare the body, or you just
yeah.
40 days?
Oh, fuck you, dude. No. You see, that's the thing when I hear people saying, oh, just be careful.
No, I know,
this guy
right?
died. This guy died. Like, fuck off, man. The medical industry loves nothing more than some guy who claims that he's this and this and this to die. They love it. They love it. It's good
they eat that shit right up, bro. They eat that.
Hell yeah. They want it. They're going to plaster it all over the place. So everybody got afraid when Lockhart died, but I don't want to get on that right now. So 40 days, I know I killed off parasites. I didn't even know what they were back then. I didn't even know what they were until like 2 years ago, quite honestly. Even when I was starting with the urine therapy, I didn't know what they were. But I know that there's different levels. You've got your big fat pig parasites, sitting at the trough, just waiting for your 3 meals a day. And then when you stop the 3 meals, some of those are gone. And let's just say you're 1 meal a day. Then you've got another level of parasite plus all the ones above it. And they're all good until you stop the 1 meal a day. Then those fat fucks are gone. Then you've got, new levels of parasites. And then pretty soon you've just got these stealthy, hard to get rid of motherfuckers, where you've got to dry fast like crazy to get rid of them, because they'll live off just your water. They'll hang around. And they're, I don't know, dude, because I know this because I've seen it. I could not believe I still had some in me. Because I did, okay, so I'm going to jump forward now. March 2016, I started urine therapy. I actually did urine therapy for the first time in 14. And in 2015, in June, I did an 11-day just urine fast. And so that was the year before. And then I kind of I was in a relationship that was not good. And I won't get into that, but I was sitting on my ass a lot. I was working a lot of hours. I do weather consulting. I spent a lot of time working. And, but I was still athletic. It's just that I was eating too much. I was eating, period. Eating this crap. And that whole man lives on bread alone. Man doesn't live on bread at all. And I wasn't living. I was slowly dying. And I just kind of looked at myself in March and I thought, what are you doing? You're ruining, you don't even love yourself. You're fucking ruining yourself. I was drinking, energy drinks and all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't eating meat. I quit meat in 2011, sorry. I knew it wasn't good. And then when I found out the animal aspect of it, that was it for me. It was disgusting to me. I felt like we were trained to be zombies, basically, eating flesh. The cheese thing, man, I feel your pain, Devon, pain. That cheese, man, they fucking, oh my God, they make that shit the hardest thing to break from. Cheese, butter, dude. I mean, it's so difficult.
Buttered bread.
Butter bread is fucking disgusting, man. It's mucus. What the fuck? This is how brainwashed they made us. So anyway, so when I started this, that was it. Like, I looked at myself, I'm like, done eating. I'm done eating. That's it. And so and it wasn't just looking at myself, it was thinking, do you want to deteriorate and watch your kids and their kids and you can't do anything? Do you want to have a life like that? No, fuck no, dude. And all the guys around me, I was in my, what was I? 2016. Yeah, I was in my 40s, whatever. I'm 51 right now. But everybody around me they'd always say, oh, yeah, well, I'm 40 now, so, they're making all kinds of excuses why they feel like shit. And I never let that slide. Even when I looked like shit, I didn't let it slide. I said, no, man, we don't have to, this isn't what we have to be. I said, that's an excuse, man.
And Chris, I'm sorry, I just want to interject.
No, dude, go.
It's just here in the Bahamas, dog, like when you look around, like, and see, it's amazing the amount of people that just don't connect it to food. They don't connect it to food, bro. And it's like we have elders who eat themselves literally till they're crippled.
Yes.
And you have the whole family taking care of you,
Yep. Oh, that's the other thing. You become a burden on people.
Right. And that's a level of respect you have for your family to take care of.
Yeah, man, because yes, it's respect. You have respect for others because you're going to put them through grief when you're dying. You're going to cost them money. You're going to cost them time. There's so many negatives to you just being a lazy fuck. Sorry, I hope this doesn't offend the podcast, but
no,
fuck, dude. Enough with the excuses, man. So, and this is me talking. This was me talking to myself too. And still, even to this day, I sometimes, there's a little motivation that comes in that form, but I don't really need it like that. I did back then. But I started doing urine therapy. I jumped right in. That was it. It was pee, and I supplemented with distilled water for the first probably 5 days, just whenever the pee seemed to be low, the volume. And what I noticed is after a while, I was getting more energy. After about 5 days on that first one, and keep in mind though, I had already killed off some Parasites, it's pretty, 40-day fast in '08, and then 11 days in 2015, the year before, around the same time. So I kind of already had killed off some parasites, so maybe it was easier for me to just jump in. In fairness, I don't know, but I'm not.
Yeah,
but
I'm literally doing the same thing. Like I'm actually just only drinking aged. So anytime I notice I start peeing clear, I just stop drinking in total. I just stop. So I use that as a marker in terms of quote unquote overhydration, because that's something in the holistic field that many people don't talk about in terms of overhydrating versus actually being hydrated.
100%.
Yes. So the volume started picking up, and the volume of the pee started picking up. And at this time, I started running. When I noticed this, it inspired me, and I started running more. I was doing anywhere from 4 to 10 miles a day, like 6 days a week. And I mean, I wasn't jogging, I was running. And I was doing CrossFit intensely. In fact, after a CrossFit type workout, it would take me maybe 5 to 10 minutes to fully recover, and I felt like I could do another one. Same workout, just as hard. So I had loads of energy, and I started realizing that the body is getting this water from somewhere, because it's not coming from me, because I had no fat on me at that point. I'd already melted that off. And that's another thing. We don't just lose weight, and I know we all know this. We're losing damage. We're not losing. We're shedding damage. That's it. We're shedding age in cellular form. So any weight that's lost, it's not lost. People keep thinking in terms of this, and this is how we're taught to use that word lost. You're not losing anything. Your body is never going to get rid of what it needs. Never.
Exactly. I'm actually still gaining in mass just on liquids, and still dry fasting from time to time. So
dude.
Yeah, I increased my daily workouts a little bit more, even on top of the breath work. But when you talked about working out, you can look at Pralajani as a prime example. They looked at his urine, someone who hasn't eaten for 70 plus years. They looked at his urine bladder. He reabsorbed the urine. You can literally replay the doctor's saying. He literally just reabsorbed the urine. That's what's happening. So I notice the more I do the breath work too, especially when dry fasting, I feel a different stem in my spine, because I've done so much breath work where I can literally feel more in my body, if anything. So I know what's going on at the deepest levels. As long as I'm still, I know what my kidney's beating at. I know, we all should get to the point where we know what's happening in our bodies, even at the subtle level. But the more I do breath work, what's happening is that air pressure is stemming from the urethra all the way down to the spine, and you're creating that air pressure shooting up. You're creating that flow shooting up the spine, shooting energy up the spine, and it just creates a new cycle of recycling the quote unquote urine, because that's what's really spitting out from the top of the roof of his mouth, was really just urine mixed with the enzymes in his mouth, and that's what became that sticky liquid that kept him alive.
Whenever you get a chance, Devon, if you would be so kind, if you could just send me a link to the type of breath work you trust that would be good for somebody like me who's active while not eating or drinking. I don't know if there's a difference. I'm just.
There's a huge difference. I have this terminology: weak breath work equals weak breatharian, and that's why many people from I'm not putting names out there or anything, but many people who go to these different camps, some of them, even the top camp that also claim that only like 10% go on to quote unquote live a chronic lifestyle. Person comes back to me and said, no, it's a lot shorter than that. That's no way it can be 10%. So, and they don't even prioritize quote unquote breath work at all. I'm like, it's in the word breatharian. Like, how can you not prioritize breath work? So, it's sad. It's sad at the same time too, but you know, the breath is super important. My main focus with alchemy breath work is utilizing nitric oxide, which is the building block of our whole existence, our whole being. And the only way to get it is through the nose. In alchemy breathwork, we don't even use the mouth. We only use the nose. So yeah, we only use the nose in alchemy. And that's the only way to build up more nitric oxide. And you actually get 20% more oxygen versus mouth breathers. You know, we're again, going back to the whole ideology of the language itself, you know, we, to a point where we were telepathic. We're probably more breathing more through our nose, if anything.
Let me ask you, when I do breathe, because I have, I don't know, I just breathe, you know, I'll breathe in, breathe out. And I feel like when I'm breathing in through the nose, it's like the intake on an engine. And when I'm breathing out through the mouth, it's like the exhaust pipe. I don't know if that's accurate.
If you look at the Fibonacci sequence and you look at the flower of life and you look at how everything is connected, even it's Nikola Tesla's birthday, so I'm going to utilize 369 in this instance. And I've shared this too. So I can share this technique with you too. It's just when I work with athletes and especially joggers too, a great technique for whatever it sounds like you're doing in terms of strength building too and working out is just threes. So you would inhale 3 with the nose, exhale 3 with the nose, and you'll notice a big, huge difference in terms of performance, psychology, in terms of how you're thinking, and you know, everything will just open up in that.
I just tried it quietly, and I can tell that.
Yeah. I notice people who do fasting that come to me, or people who are on the fruitarian diet, they can easily feel it even in the first few breaths. So I love working with all types of people, but I really find it really fascinating that it's so easy to see that, all right, more electrons are floating in this type of food group versus that food group. It's pretty obvious.
Right. So I'll just give the stats real quick. March through October of 2016, I did roughly, I would say, somewhere between 95 and 99% just urine. And I mean, it was very few and far between when I ingested any kind of dense matter. Like this is before me finding out about salt. So sometimes in between, I'd be with my kids and I'd eat hummus or something like that. It's hard. There's kind of a story with this, but I was just really an outcast, pretty much isolated. And sometimes it was just nice to sit down and just feel normal, you know, for an hour. But the first 4 months through July, I think was, it's about July. It was not, I was strict. It was almost nothing else but feed. And what happened is in October of 2016, it was cloudy, rainy. I was living up in the Northwest US. And I noticed when that sun went away, I started losing energy, started getting down. And I started eating a little bit more fruit. So I was still doing urine therapy hardcore, but here and there, like every few days, every week maybe, sometimes every other day, I was grabbing grapes. It was almost always grapes. It was my go-to for whatever reason. And that's kind of what it's been for me for the most part, is long periods of just urine therapy and then some fruit in between. And it's usually grapes. And in 2018, I found out about dry fasting. I didn't know anything, man. I was really learning stuff. And I tried it. June, July, I was doing 2 days, 3 days. And then in July, I decided, because I had heard, 3 days you die with no water. And so I decided I was going to push it past the 3-day point. And the only way to do that was to get out into the forest. I've been living in a van. I'm now on a sailboat, but I was living in a van since 2017. And I just drove out to the forest because I felt that if I told anybody what was going on, or if they saw me looking rough, that they would call the police and have me arrested so that I don't kill myself. That's what I was dealing with. So I had to get away from everybody, and I just went out to the forest. And I will tell you, day 3 and 4, and this is after over 2 years of almost nothing but pee with some fruit mixed in, and mainly in the second year, the fruit mixed in. Mm-hmm. And I was clean, man. I was totally fat free, and I still am. I mean, that's me now, but this is where I was. So I had nothing really that I knew of, and I pushed it to 5 days. I was determined that I was going to get to 5 days, and on the 5th day that I was going to do a watermelon. And I'll tell you, day 3 and 4, I usually was sleeping maybe 4 hours a night, and I felt like Superman with 4 hours in a 24-hour period. And at that point, once I started the dry fast into days 3 and 4, I could hardly stand up. I was sleeping 13 hours at least each day for those 2 days. And I would get up. I had to hold on to things when I stood up. And so I mostly sat down, just read. I mean, it was rough. I felt my heart rate was super high. My body temperature was high. But that was my body destroying the weakness inside. That's what was going on. And then on day 5, I got up and I grabbed onto something like I was expecting to need it. And I thought, fuck, did I eat? And I felt my stomach felt full. I felt like I had something in my stomach. I said, did I eat that fucking watermelon? And I walked up to the front of the van because I'd slept like a lot. And I walked up to the front of the van and the watermelon's still sitting there, fully intact. And so I got out of the van and I almost kind of hopped out of the van, landed on my feet and felt fully springy. And I started smiling at that point because I was thinking, oh, no fucking way. No fucking way. So I wanted to make sure it wasn't a placebo, because the mind is super powerful. And I could have been sitting there going, hey, I get to eat this watermelon today, so there's your energy, right? So I jumped out of the van. I went and ran up the mountain, probably about a mile round trip, but I just wanted to go uphill and make sure that I really had the energy that I thought I had. And I did. It was like, fuck, I could run all day. That's how I felt. And I realized at that point, it took me 5 days. Now, I used to think and I used to talk like, yeah, if you can reach 5 days, man, you pass the hump. It's not true. Because there's people that go 11 days and they don't pass the hump. It's because they haven't done 2 years of cleaning, or it doesn't take 2 years. That was just my path. But it takes cleaning. You have to empty your colon. You have to get all the cooked shit out of you. All that stuff can't be in there when you dry fast if you want to feel what it's like to not need food or water anymore. And at that point in 2018, I was nothing but smiles. I really already didn't have fear because urine therapy proved to me that I didn't need anything from anybody. Right. But this was just a whole other level, man. Like, fuck, are you kidding me? We literally really are gods. We really don't need it.
And Chris,
yeah,
it's really interesting that you went like 2 years, right? Mainly on urine and fruits. Well, mainly urine, but fruits are here and there. And it's really,
right.
That's fascinating that you went on a dry fast and still you go on a long, you sleep for 13 hours and your body still had to get out some old cells,
Yes.
And Chris, you were, when you say you were on urine therapy, right? Just to make it clear, were you drinking all of your urine passage or if it got really cleared out or,
I was looping my pee, and because, once I started doing that, I stopped drinking water. I don't even drink. I don't drink. If I drink something, it's going to be because I want to taste it, so I'm drinking juice.
Yeah.
So there's no excess with me. If it seems like it's starting to overflow, then I just let a little bit go, and then I'm good. I just level it off, and just keep what will fill the bladder or partly fill the bladder. But I know what that is to shoot, man, I've got video of me talking about it as I was experiencing it. I have a friend who in December, let's see, it's 20, must have been December of 18. Yeah, December of 2018. We went snowboarding. This guy's half my age at the time, 25, and we went snowboarding. And he knows I'm serious. Like, I don't mess around. I go to the gym. I just do my thing and I get out. I don't want to sit around and talk to people and hang out for 2 hours staring at my muscles. I don't do that kind of crap. So this guy, he called me, wanted me to go with him. He says, yeah, I don't want to go because everybody else always takes long breaks. They want to eat lunch. He says, I just want to go and like really snowboard all day. I said, cool, I'm in, man. So I happened to be on day 8 of no food and water. And I didn't tell him that. I didn't want to tell him actually at the time. He knew that I was doing this crazy shit, but he didn't know it was 8 days. So I get in the car with him and it's cold. It's really cold. And what got to me was his heater, because he had the heater kind of blasting and the hot air was blowing in my face and up my nose. And I realized at that point that I hadn't reached every level of being breatharian, because that would be like a really hot desert. The air is super dry because it's winter and the dew points are really low. And when you combine that with a high conditioned air, warm air, it's like being in the desert with really dry air. So that was blowing up my nose, and I was having I was feeling dry for the first time during that whole thing. And I told him, I said, hey, you don't mind if I turn this heat down or turn it off or something? Huh? It's kind of making it rough. And I told him, I said, I'm 8 days in a dry fast right now. He goes, what? He's looking at me and he's just kind of staring like, what the fuck? And anyways, we went snowboarding, and here's what's cool. This guy's a triathlete, and he's number 5 in the U.S. in the Spartan race thing for his, I don't know if there's some kind of class, they have different classes, whatever. But anyways, so we were both just hauling ass down the mountain, and he had to keep stopping to pee. I didn't have to stop. He had to stop to use the toilet one time. I didn't have to stop. No pee, no poop, no nothing. And I'm telling you, man, you have to be, this is the thing, I think we're humbled in so many ways, because never do I think that I'm better than anybody, because I'm not.
Right.
I'm not. But man, when you start reaching these levels, and Devon and Mark, I know you guys know, it's for me, I sometimes during that period, I was crying and laughing almost at the same time. Fuck, this is unreal, man. I can't fucking believe this shit. How did they fool us? And I was laughing that I'd been fooled my whole life by such a simple thing. And yeah, so you feel like a god. You literally feel like a god, and your brain is working so good, and you're so fucking connected, and you feel like you're floating sometimes. You're it's like I see everything for what it is. Like nothing can hide from me. That's how I feel. I look around, none of these facades can fool me. Nothing. When I hear stories on the news, all of it.
It's funny you say, it's funny you say about fooling, because paying homage to Nikola Tesla, because I use his ideology in Alchemy Breathwork too, in terms of 369, and you literally look at every technology known to man. It's really based off the human body. It low key really is. So
yes,
it's interesting that you say with the air conditioner, when you realize that part. I just moved recently to Florida, and I noticed even in Jersey it was pretty hot during the summertime, but then the cold would come around. I made peace with the cold, and I did a cold plunge. Everyone was doing Wim Hof. I did my own thing. When I came out the cold plunge, I was the warmest person. And that day I dry fasted too. I was the warmest person. And they all did Wim Hof. I did my own breath work or whatever, but I was the warmest person. So that taught me something too about how nitric oxide is really a powerful molecule in itself. And they're even making, I see this, they're making nitric oxide pills and all these artificial stuff that I'm like, you can literally get that through breath work. You really don't need that. And And one of the main thing I noticed moving here in Miami, since I'm in the weather a lot longer, I can, people look at me crazy being barefoot walking around the concrete. And I noticed one day it was like it was like 91. It was really 91, and I look on the weather thing, and it said it feels like 107. And I noticed I'm looking at my feet. I'm like, I'm doing pretty well, just being on this hot concrete right now. I'm not doing too bad. And it just dawned on me that because I have my partner too here with me, and she'll like shy away into the shade, and I'm just in the sun, just bathing in it. And we went to Walmart one time, and the security guard pulled up next to me. She said, "Are you from around here?" I'm like, "Yeah." You not high? You gonna get a sunburn?
Yeah.
And mind you, she was also as dark as me, and I told her, I'm like, "Oh, there's no such thing as sunburn. It all depends on what you eat." She's like, "I got a sunburn just the other day. Like, where you from?" I'm like, "I'm from Jersey." Be careful with the sun, man. It's gonna burn you. I'm like, "No, it all depends on what you eat." So that in itself tells you, just because you have a darker skin doesn't mean that you're not susceptible to the sun, unless you have a really good diet, or you're cleansed in that sense. So that in itself, just seeing that I can stay out for so long, and that in itself, seeing that I can stay out for so long, that in my mind has taught me that, like, being dry fasting for not even, I don't even call it dry fasting. I mean, just being completely I'm being self dependent is truly possible. And that really like clicked in my head, and that's why I've been quote unquote experimenting these couple of days, dry fasting here and there. But the days when I don't dry fast, I'll dry fast for over 20 hours, 16 to 20 hours, and then I'll break it off with age, and then I might have coconut water or just stick with age. But just being in the sun, and sometimes if I do get hot, it's funny, most of the times I feel like I get hot, I'll have like a session with a client, and then after the session, even with my partner, she'll do it with me. She said, and I look to her, I'm like, "Don't you feel cooler now?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, because your pores are breathing too. Like your whole body is breathing. It's not, one organ never works alone. Everything works in unison. Everything works in unison. One will hit another organ, and then the other. It's like a domino effect. Everything works in unison. And the fact that my skin can be out for so long in the sun and just absorb it, and the DMT what you get from breath work was even amplified even more. If I'm out in the sun for a couple hours and then I do breath work, I literally feel everything that the sun touched on my body is just redirecting to one point in my stomach and just shooting up the spine even more. So it's like my skin is sun gazing at a certain degree, and then I'm just amplifying everything and redirecting the energy up the cerebral cortex and just circling and looping it around.
Amazing.
I want to throw this out there. I'm a white guy, quote unquote, and my skin is like, when I was a kid, I could run around. I'd get burnt like once, and then, I'm good. I'm back to that. I've been back to that, but even more so now. Like I get darker, even. It's crazy as a white dude. That even friends that I've had for a while that are Mexican, they'll tell me, "Dude, you look Mexican. Like your skin is dark."
Chris,
cool.
It's interesting you say that, because the mucusless diet, Arnold Rett, the same thing happened to him when he went on a kind of a full fruit and fasting diet, and he got like, he was a white guy, but people literally thought that he was of a whole nother race, bro. Like he activated his melanin. And I know
one girl who shifted all the way from cooked vegan, and she went on a 90+ day on green juices, and she looks completely dark, completely dark. It's evident. Like,
we're all going dark, man.
Yeah, we're all going dark. Back, hey, think about back to source energy. The dark, the dark encompasses all the colors of the light spectrum. So it only makes sense.
Yeah,
I think that this is a good conversation, to have, because when you kind of in a group with conscious brothers, right? And they talk about the Caucasian not being able to have certain abilities, but you start to realize when you're dealing with that 5D energy, it really goes beyond.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they say just because you have some Neanderthal in your blood, they will kind of carry that narrative. But yet I know some white brothers that could take sunlight. I talking about 1,000 times better than the darkest brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I was ignorant to. I had no idea. I didn't know that.
No, well,
I figured if you had the dark skin, good to go.
I mean, you would think that, but
yeah,
these dudes here you can't take
the fact is the fact is we all carry melanin. So if the main thing is the first human is found and dated all the way back to Africa. When you think of like Meru or the center of the world, I truly believe that's really Africa. Even in the flat earth theory, I really believe it just makes sense. Africa, like all these continents were just part of one, and it just all split up into various parts. But even in the deep scholars, when it comes to extraterrestrials, if you will, they'll tell you the African tribes has the most advanced technology known to the esoteric world, if you will, in terms of communication to, again, other dimensions, other entities, if you will. There's something called the Adinkra Symbols in Africa, and quantum science now says the closest thing to what we know as quote unquote binary code, ones and zeros, is literally the Adinkra symbols. And that just blew my mind. I'm like, this was like from thousands and thousands of years ago, is now connecting to binary code and the matrix as we know it. So one of the most advanced technologies is literally just the human technology, going back into channeling again. So it just all ties into one.
I honestly, I have to tell you, I don't trust. I know you guys, I'm sure, don't trust history, so to speak, but I really, really don't trust most of what we're taught. I think what you're saying is valid, Devon. I just also feel like it's less of a geographical thing than it is a chronological thing, where you just maybe go back 300 years and we were much more advanced than we are now. The language, just look at the language, we were more advanced. I mean, the way people wrote, and obviously I'm not looking at the whole world, but I think what you're saying with the tribes, I believe that because they're the least screwed with as far as their ways and what they've been doing, and you don't have to have colleges to. And this is inherent knowledge within us. The kingdom of God is within. So they've just been unmessed with for so long, and we're the ones who've been dumbed down and everything else, and they're probably the advanced ones, I would say.
Yeah, it's like my dad, he would go back to Jamaica, and he would go into the mountains or whatever too, and you would have some people there saying, "Oh, I want to go to America and live that life like you." And he goes, "Why do you want all this stress for? Like, you don't need all this stress." So it just, in terms of them being less stressed, they delved into different terms of their realities, in terms of diving deep into different consciousness, if you will. When you look at things like kung fu and and yoga. Like the first yoga literally came from Africa too. And when you just tie that all into the tribal mindset, it just all makes sense in terms of a world that was probably more advanced, as like you were saying, Chris, and probably more unified, if anything, than divided. And when you look at unification, you can do a lot of things with unification. When you look at certain pyramids around the world, you will literally see runways next to them. Like, what was flying down into the runways? Someone tell me.
Yeah.
What was flying down onto the runways? So it only makes sense.
There's ancient writing. Well, I use the word ancient. Who even knows how long ago things were? We have a fake calendar to begin with, but there are writings in Sanskrit where the people in India, they were writing about flying over these different regions of Nepal and in the Himalayas, and the way they described it from the air, modern day pilots have read this and said there's no way they could have described it like that unless they were flying over it. There's no way. And this is ancient.
If you look at the Tesla coil actually came from a lingam in India. Nikola Tesla didn't really discover, well, he discovered it and just brought it back to the West, really. He just literally took ancient technology and brought it to the quote unquote masses. But one of the main things that he said, like beyond all his quote unquote inventions, the main thing that he was really proud of that he discovered was the power of magnetism. And magnetism goes way beyond the physical in that sense. It's more of a spiritual thing. And he himself was a breatharian, and some people even believe he's still quote unquote alive, if you will. And that's a whole nother deep story. But magnetism, when you look at magnetism, you also think of law of attraction and inner alchemy, if you will. The as above, so below. The inner alchemy within attracts the outer alchemy we put out. And the eyes are the projectors in that sense too. And it just connects our whole quote unquote reality.
Right. And Devon. Sorry, Chris. Devon.
Nah.
Sorry, I'm not trying to make it off topic, but you did say something very interesting, and you made a post on Instagram about how over dilution from overhydration can kind of decrease the electrical activity, right? The chi levels. Now, you did say something about your urine and the fact that when it's super clear, you said that that's a sign of overhydration. Now, and so basically, Devon, you know how there's some people I would think, and Chris, this is a good question for you too, because there is a lot of misinformation about everything, but even about urine therapy. Yeah. And people believe that, but when it comes out really yellow and nasty looking and cloudy, that you have books that will say not to drink that, but
that's the best time to drink it.
That's what I'm saying, right? So they would say, and this book is really popular, and it says that you should only drink it when it's clear. Now, for both you, for me personally, like when I drink the morning one and the yellow one, when it gets so clear and diluted, really, it's not the same, So I'd like to just, I guess Devon, starting with you, like, what's your take on that?
When it's clear?
Yeah, basically like when it's like yellowy and nasty looking, people think like, oh no, that has lymphatic waste in it, like Dr. Morse.
Oh man.
Yeah, the Dr. Morse people.
We know. Not a lot of people know about that, but yeah, I heard one friend who went into a debate with him, and he just shot down. He didn't want to really talk about urine therapy because I feel like he already knows. He knows, but
he's a gatekeeper, dude. He's a gatekeeper.
Yeah, he's a gatekeeper. He really is. So the thing with the darkness of the urine, not a lot of people know this too, but urine itself has nitric oxide. Again, going back to the nose, and that's another way of integrating nitric oxide to the body. with urine. Again, your skin breathes, going back to the whole sun situation. Even if you're not getting enough sunlight, if you drink your urine, you will be getting some of the biophotons that's within the air itself. And that's what give food life and the life as we know it in that sense. So when you're being overhydrated, you're literally washing away all the minerals that your own body is producing. If you're, keep on drinking, keep on the 1 liter practice never really resonated with me in terms of 1 liter of water, or like 1 gallon of water early in the morning to like wash yourself out. That never really resonated with me at all. It just doesn't make sense to literally wash away all your electrons in the body. If you literally put a AA battery into, like a dead AA battery into salt water, and then you take it out the salt water for about like maybe 15, 30 minutes or an hour-ish, and you put it back into the device will start working. What does that tell you about salt? Salt, in terms of salt water itself is electric, and our own bodies are electric in that sense as well. It's just that how are you allowing the flow of electrons in the body to flow? And for me personally, it was breath work. But yeah, that's my take on
Right.
if urine is too clear.
So
Hey,
my
Chris,
take is,
on the
what's
urine.
that?
Yeah, on the urine, what do you have to tell people about the yellowest, most nasty looking part, like, and it tastes horrible? What do you have to say
Well, okay.
about that?
Well, it tastes horrible because you're eating shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it tastes horrible. It shouldn't taste like that. It could still be dark and be strong, but if it's tasting weird and shitty, it's because you're eating weird and shitty. And it's actually, I think people should drink it almost as a punishment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because then they can go, oh, this is just a little tiny taste of what I'm doing in my temple. I'm fucking my body up with this shit. Maybe I should get a little extra taste of it, and remind me not to eat that again. That's my take. But yeah, the closer your urine is to pee, to blood, then the closer that color is going to be to red. It's going to be dark yellow, orange, even almost brownish. It's like just a little bit of water mixed with your blood. So it just matters how much water you have in there. So there's it's going to seem nastier. Even if it's clean, it's going to seem like, oh, it's kind of strong. It's not going to be nasty though, like nasty.
Yeah, it'll come
Or
out.
it shouldn't be.
Right.
And if you're still toxifying yourself, even if you're doing urine therapy, you're still gonna be healthier, relatively healthier, but you're not gonna be healthy, as you could be.
I just want to interject. There's this one guy that does urine therapy. He still eats meat, and I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. And he's been doing it for about 2 years now, and he still eats meat and stuff. I'm like, at this point, you'd think it would at least push him into the direction of maybe I should actually get this done.
I can't even imagine.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
I was gonna say on that subject with the pee, it's always sterile, so it could be nasty, it can be whatever else, but we know the toxins are going out other directions, gas and number 2 and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I think it should be consumed, and you should stop eating whatever you were eating that made it nasty if it was nasty, and then it'll taste better next time. It's like a reward. Hey, I get to taste decent stuff because I'm not, throwing shit down my esophagus.
And just say, you said this before, Chris, and just want people to understand that listening, urine is a derivative of your blood. And
yes,
the blood that's circulating through you, let's say that we're on a detoxification path, urine is cleaner than the blood that's circulating through you. you know?
Yes.
So remember when you said this, and I do agree, because the breatharian brother, he revealed to me that he was the first one to reveal to me that he went 6 months on only urine, where he was just drinking all of it. And that helped into his food freedom path. Now, telling me how, what it was, how it's a derivative of the blood, and that even like if you on your deathbed, I mean, it still could pull you. It still could pull you away from death. There's been times where you pulled people away from the worst conditions, you know? So it's, it's, I mean, it's crazy. I guess if you have, I mean, I've seen videos where people did chemotherapy and went on a 3-month urine fast, and it helped them, you know? Yeah.
I kind of have a, you know, for me, I just saw urine therapy as like the pinnacle, you know, like this is the top. And I see it now as more of a bridge. I don't see it as something, I mean, you can always use it. There's a lot of uses for it. Aged is amazing, all this stuff. But here's something. I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to be 52. Yeah, I'm 52. Whatever, in the fake fucking Gregorian timeline, I'm going to be 50. I don't feel even close, man. Like, and I definitely, I've got a boy body. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
you don't look 52 to me, man. You do
No.
not look 52.
Bro, it's a great feeling.
You're growing younger, bro. You're growing younger. And you're right. He did say the same thing to me, that urine is a bridge. It's a tool, you know?
Yes.
And remember, Devon, I know you know Elatom Elamine. And Elatom, I love when he kind of put some things together for me when he said that we tend to take the therapy, whether it's fruitarianism, urine, herbs, and because it made us feel better, we make that God, you know? When we make that our God and we continue to do it, then it brings some other implications. And this is why you have people that have been vegan for so long or fruitarian for so long, then they start to have implications because they believe so much in the diet aspect of this journey. So then they start to chase their own tail. They go back to eating meat, and then they feel being stimulated from meat, and they think, oh, well, I have energy again. You know, when they may have, the consciousness may have been pushing them to go to the next level, you know? I find that the main thing people should understand is that don't make the therapy your God. It's really, or everything is pushing you to being self-sustained. That's what it looks like, you know?
Yeah, I wanted to throw out there before it gets too far past it, but the only reason I even mentioned how I feel and how I feel like I have a boy's body and all that, the reason I'm saying that is because I see so many guys, even in their 30s and especially in their 40s and beyond, they just make all kinds of excuses, or they believe what they've been taught. You know, yeah, this is, you're over the hill, you're halfway there, you're going to die at 80 something, that's the average or whatever. So your life's getting close to being done, and they just take it as a fact of life. And the reason I said what I said is not sit here and go, ooh, I've got a boy's body. And you guys know that, but there's people listening and they might be, guy sounds like a douchebag. The reason I'm saying it is because we're all capable. And you know what? You know what really motivates me with this whole, the reason I'm even on the line here right now, well, first off, you guys are cool. I'm happy to be here doing talking and everything. But I mean, the main reason that I got into this so heavy is because I was pushed to it, for one. I mean, I'm here because this is my destiny. But the things that pushed me here, one of them was the corruption in the medical industry and what they do to people and how they destroy lives. They destroy people. This whole society lies to you and tells you you're supposed to die when you're 100. That's a fucking lie. And people just, they buy it. They believe it. So the reason I mentioned what I mentioned is because I want people to know there is a way that you could literally regenerate every cell in your body. Could be new, and it takes time. That's the thing. People want things so quick, but there are people that are willing to do the hard work. And if you are one of those people, you can de-age yourself. You could get rid of your arthritis. You could get rid of broken bones that have been lingering pain, pulled muscles. I don't care what it is. Your body, when you lose weight, quote unquote, and people say, I want to stay at 180 pounds. No, you know what? Why? So basically what you're saying is you want to carry around a bag of shit with you, because if your body gets rid of it, it's getting rid of it because it's a bag of shit that it doesn't want. That's what's happening. And it's especially, and I'm going to say this because I've done both. I've done the urine therapy for long periods, and it's the dry fasting. When you take the water out of the equation, when you stop watering the garden indiscriminately, and you just let the body smart bomb without the water being present, and you let the body only target the cells that it wants to keep and gets rid of everything else, then you really start seeing the differences and the change. Like I started seeing the hair on my face go from grayish, because I was getting a lot of grays, going back to darker color, like natural color. That happens to all your hair and your skin. I've lived in deserts all my life. I've got wrinkles around my eyes that are almost gone. Some of them I can't even see them anymore. This is what happens when you start doing this. It starts reversing the age. It's not a joke. And I'm not making any money saying this, but you know what I am doing? I'm undermining the medical industry, because I literally, if I ever use the word hate, and I don't want to, but that is one entity that I despise. I almost went to jail 3 times because of those guys. Had my family taken away. Like they threatened me with all kinds of stuff. So I have zero love. I became my own doctor from the year 2001 on. I've been studying hardcore. I don't participate in cake and circuses. I just learn. And I learned all this stuff, and I started applying it. And what I'm saying right now is that we're all capable of regenerating ourselves. And the best, quickest way after you clean up is to go dry fast and just take the water out. And that's why these breatharians, I'm telling you, man, there's people in Burma right now. What do they call them? The immortals of Burma.
Yeah, the 1,000-year-old monk. Yeah,
1,100 and something. Yeah, and the 2 others. That one guy's 500 and something. The other one's 800 and something years old. But who knows? There's probably people. Tell me this, dude. In this society, would you walk around and tell the average person, "Hey, I'm 1,000 years old"?
Oh, hell no.
Fuck no, dude. You'd be like Bigfoot, you know? Like, let's get some.
They'll think you a demon, bro.
Oh yeah,
I even say this all the time. Like, if one day I just disappear from society, I'm either in the Wudang Mountains or somewhere in Burma.
Okay, well now I know where to go.
Yeah, one or the other.
Where's Burma?
It's Southeast Asia, right?
Yeah, it's in Southeast Asia.
Gee, that's as much as I could pinpoint it right now. But I do have this thing called the internet. Anyways, while you guys are talking, I'm gonna find out where Burma is. Now I'm curious.
You know, it's interesting about how we talk about physical immortality, and when it comes to work, you start to realize what the Freemasons call the great work. It's more of a surrender. It's more of an allowing, the art of the Wu Wei. And I think everything that we're learning is just how to get out of the way and to allow for what we call the perfection or the building of heaven. The reconstructing and regenerating deals with just allowing for the universe to then start perfecting the avatar. And so it's like through the series of the, letting go of the diets, because you realize that there's really no such thing really as, when it comes to healthy eating, it's more about heavy eating and then light eating, really, And when you start to let go of certain things, like Chris and, you know what you said about dry fasting, and Devon getting into dry fasting more and more, that's really seems to be a true acceptance of self without constantly having to alter, you know, to alter self. And when you look at sacrifice, they say you put on the altar. And I connect that with we have been altered. And the main thing that the dark alchemists and sorcerers do is to keep us in that perpetual mode of self-deception. You know, the minute you let go of all that bullshit, the universe, nature reveals to you the secret, you know? So, and talk, we really need to even just talk about it. Come on, you can't even, to say that, yeah, physical immortality and 1,000-year-old people live. Come on, man. People, the average person ain't really, no.
They're not ready. They're not ready for that.
No.
No. Like, I even like, and Devon, how is your family? Like, I mean, they okay with you, like, you know, doing all of this? Like, how is that?
Just my uncle out of the whole family.
Oh man.
Wait, just your uncle? Your uncle is okay.
Yeah, my uncle. Yeah, he's seen me, so he's like, "Oh, you're not losing. It doesn't look like you're deteriorating or dying or anything. You're good." I don't know why everyone's going crazy, but you're fine.
Devon, what age are you? I mean, according to the Gregorian bullshit calendar, what age are you?
I'm 25, but in my mind, I'm always 20.
Okay. Well, see, now, I think people that are older, like people that would be closer to my age, if they were to start fasting hardcore, they're going to look gaunt and get really, like, maybe even concentration camp. That's how they'll feel. But there's a couple of factors. Number one is if you're depressed, you're not fasting. You're just fucking depressed.
Yeah.
It's not healthy. But because I've had people tell me this, they'll say, "Oh, I fasted for a month and I was sick." And I say, "Oh, really? You fasted for a month? Why? What happened?" "Oh, I broke up with my girlfriend. I got depressed. I stopped eating." I said, "That's not a fast, dude. A fast is you consciously going into it and not eating for a reason, not because, you know, you're depressed and so that caused you to not eat. That's not fasting. You were depressed, so your body was acidic that whole time." And I know this because of the urine therapy. Whenever I got depressed and down, I could taste it immediately within seconds in my feet. And I was looping, so I knew, like I was keeping track. So you're depressed, you're going to look like shit. If you're not depressed, you're not going to look like shit. But here's the thing. This is what I wanted to say. So when you are, say, 50 years old or 40 or whatever, and you've eaten like crap or you've eaten a lot, then your body has deteriorated and aged faster than the average person. And you've had more years of that. So now you have a body that's filled with aged cells that would have been regenerated in a timely manner over the years as you went along. But instead, now you're fasting and your body's like, "Oh, fuck, you know, let's take advantage of this. Let's hit the reset button. We're going to get rid of all that bad shit." Your body is not going to rebuild all those cells as fast as it's breaking them down. And you're breaking down bone, teeth, skin, blood, muscle, you know, everything, cartilage. It's all, if it's damaged and weak and aged, your body's going to get rid of it. But it's going to hit the fat first, because that's toxic. That's just straight up toxins. It wants it gone. The only reason the fat's there. But then these other cells are going to start breaking down, and you're still going to lose weight, and you're going to lose muscle mass, and you're going to lose other things. And most of these big dudes in the gym, they're inflamed. Those are damaged cells. Those are not healthy cells with these guys, because they've been fucking up their temple. So what I wanted to say is, after you clean that up, you turn a corner and you start regenerating, and then you start looking less gaunt. And this is what I'm seeing in myself right now. I don't see this what I saw 4 years ago when I first started on this thing. My face isn't like sunk in. Now it's still, you know, you got like the what do you call it, the jawline and everything. It looks nice and all that. But I had like my cheeks were sunk in more, you know, and you could just tell my body was really cleaning house, basically. And when you're 25 years old, Devon, or Mark, you're 30, yours isn't going to be, sorry?
Yeah, I'm 31.
Am I? Sorry, dude. Another Gregorian year. So, I will never make that mistake again. So basically, you have less to shed than somebody who's 40 or 50 years old. So when you first, well, I mean, you're already doing it, but I mean, if somebody your age, quote unquote age, is going to start this process, they may not look as gaunt as somebody who's 40 or 50, or somebody who's just been on a worse path in their life and just gotten super fat. So their body just barely keeping up with maintaining and keeping this guy alive, you know, like, fuck, he's been eating noodles and cakes for 20 years. So this is something I haven't really heard many people talk about, that you actually turn a corner, and even when you're mostly dry, you don't lose the weight like you were before. Like, and this is something I posted about. I wasn't paying attention, and recently I just started weighing myself, and I gained 3 pounds in a 3-day period. It was weird. I wasn't dry when I don't get dry anymore. That's the other thing. Early dry fast, you feel dry when you're doing it, because your body's still kind of transitioning. Right. But once you get used to it, you don't have those dry periods anymore at all. I mean, you're just hydrated. So the only thing that holds you back is, I want to taste something. My taste buds want something, but you don't get thirsty. I don't get thirsty. I don't get hungry. I just get bored sometimes. Like, my mouth wants to taste something. So that's like the final frontier of addiction, I guess.
That tongue.
Yes. Yeah. So sorry, man. I've taken up a large chunk here, but I really want to get that out there, because I've never really heard anybody talk about that before.
Yeah. So the tongue. Not a lot of people know this, but when the tongue is fully utilized throughout the day, you actually will create more hormones, more bile to detoxify the stomach. If there's nothing in there, then that's just more boost of energy, if you will, if you're utilizing the tongue to its full potential beyond food and eating. And then when you add that to the breath work, it's just a different high than what any external pleasures can give you. It's really hard to explain, but when you electrify,
like without the harmful effects of the psychedelic drugs,
right? Because anything that numbs you is just numbing you from full embodiment, if you will. A lot of people say, you guys, people like us, you guys are probably out of your body and experiencing lots of stuff. I'm like, no, you're more in your body. If anything, you're not grounded. People say that breatharians and people who fast like us are not grounded, but you're more grounded. If anything, you're more aware of what's going on in front of you, what you're feeling in your body, and how that attaches to your outside world. You have full embodiment, if you will, if anything.
I have to say this, all of my longest periods of being dry, I use the word dry just so people understand what I'm saying. I'm not dry. I never get dry anymore. But the periods where I'm not drinking.
That's a mindset too. I just want to quickly say that. That's a mindset too.
Yes, it is. So those periods, the longer periods, I feel like I'm just floating. Like I'll stub my toe on something, and it can be a bad thing, actually. I stubbed my toe. I was in Acapulco. I was surfing and running to the beach, and I stubbed my toe on one of those dirt roads on a rock, and my toe was bleeding, and I didn't even know it was bleeding. I didn't feel it. I just kept running. But you start to you become less dense, and everything changes, and you just see everything. Everything is so transparent. The deception has lost all of its deceptive abilities with you. There's so many benefits. It's just insane, man.
And the mental aspect is it's so huge. Even Nikola Tesla himself had a problem with it, because he never really liked going to gatherings, because he could literally see, the quote unquote unseen, if you will, in terms of when he would go long periods of dry fasting and stuff. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, how are you dealing with the mental aspect is another factor. And breath work for me, that's what also helps, because it just sheds off different stresses beyond the physical as well. But if we're talking about different types of parasites as well, there's also mental parasites and energetic parasites and things that lock you into certain patterns that you have to break in your everyday life. And that's for me, that's what really helped me along the way, utilizing this type of breath work in my everyday life, not just a session and going on, because I feel like if I were to just do one type of breath work and then go on throughout my everyday life, it just feels a little bit too mundane. And that's when, you start having fun with the breath. That's what Alchemy breathwork is about, just having fun with the breath. It's a royal substance that keeps us alive beyond, even before food. We took our first breath. We didn't take our first mother's milk or whatever.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude, that's another thing. That's people always ask, well, what about little kids? They need their mom's milk. Yeah, but when they're done with their mom's milk, do they really need food?
No.
Because if you watch parents, they force that shit on their kids, on their little babies. That's why they have to do the little airplane thing. Oh, open your mouth, here it comes. They don't fucking want it, man. They don't want that shit.
And there are kid breatharians out there, so it's definitely possible.
I can tell you that personally, I am aware of this personally. I know that's true.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because this world is too stupid to even be able to handle this kind of stuff yet. It's changing, but right now, not so ready.
Right. And and Devon, I like how when you say you brought up the alchemy breath work and you said it'd be too mundane, it seems like it's like the 6 hours of breath work you do and playing with the breath and stuff like that, it to me, like, it sounds like you do different styles, bro. It really sounds interesting when you say it, because with someone that's not as dedicated as you, trying to live on a path without substances, without altering yourself, without the forms of entertainment that people like, you really could get absorbed into boredom. And then boredom could then make you kind of eat yourself back to sleep. If you know what I mean. So it's something you said that clicked with me. And because I ain't gonna lie, dog, like, I will eat when I'm not hungry and I feel good, and I still will decide to eat. And I think, again, from what you said, like, I would love to incorporate more of the alchemy work, because I do meditate a lot, but it's just simple, like in and out the nose, some of the breath of fire, and I hold on the exhale with the breath of fire. And it's like, and mind you, my meditations are really electrical. I really feel the prana. I really feel the energy coming into my crown chakra. And I love the pyramid meditation I have an orgone crystal on top of my pyramid as well. And it feels really good, but it's like those modes where, okay, I did it for a couple hours. Now it's like, it's like to do something with that time.
Yeah.
From what you said, and I just want people to know, when you step to these levels, then you have to figure out what to do with that time. Because it's so much fucking time, bro. Like,
Are you talking about not needing as much sleep in the time that we're awake? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, like, meditating a lot and just having like more energy and not sleeping as much. It's
right.
It's more time. It's like, I didn't have all this.
So I modestly say 6 hours, but I'm doing breath work literally every moment in different aspects of quote unquote breath consciousness in that sense. And the breath itself, we have to, we've been food connoisseurs for all our lives. It's time to become breath connoisseurs in that aspect, or energy connoisseurs, if you will, and utilize, what natural law in the universe has given to us in terms of randomness and the beautiful life that people need to just open their eyes to. and it's literally on the tip of your nose.
Yes. Yes.
Well, that's something admittedly that I need to get into more. And I will say that where I'm at right now, I got here on no real meditation practice and no breathing practice.
I also want to say life itself is a meditation. So, you know, how, you know, maybe Chris, it's just like Gary, this guy named Gary Vee. I'm sure many people know Gary Vee. Gary Vee doesn't really believe in meditation itself, but little does he realize his whole work and everything he does is literally a meditation, because what it is, I have this saying, what you do frequently is your frequency. And that in itself builds into your meditative philosophy in that sense. And so even working out itself could be a meditation. You know, again, life itself is a meditation.
You know what? You're right, because meditation doesn't have to be, oh, I'm scheduling 30 minutes, I'm going to meditate for 30 minutes.
Right.
I've sat down and just stared at the sky for hours. So yeah, I get it.
That in itself is a meditation, sky gazing, because I even do a type of breath work with gazing into the infinite unknown. But Chris, what many people don't realize is, with the sun throughout the day, it shines a certain light, yes, and it's actually heating up the certain rays in the quote unquote dome, and opening those rays, allowing more quote unquote prana, chi, energy, however you want to define it, to literally flow down. And just staring into the sky, you're literally, there's this thing called Heisenberg Theory. In Heisenberg Theory, they did an experiment where they would have this person's eyes open for a very long time with certain materials on his eye to keep it open, and you would literally see a certain ray, if tuned to a certain frequency, you can literally see the ray shoot out from the eyes. So what does that tell you? The eyes are the projectors, and where we look at is also connecting itself to the quote unquote world that we live in. So with you gazing at the sky itself, that is a powerful meditation, because you're literally just gazing into prana itself, or limitless energy, into the quote unquote void. And the sun, if you do sun gazing itself, I've got to the point where I notice the sun is literally a black hole. No one can tell me anything different. The sun is a black hole.
It emanates violet.
I've seen violet. The purple, that purplish color.
Yes, you know, it turns. It's like a black hole, and I see like a purplish violet, like emanate from it too.
Okay, so I retract my prior statements about the meditation. That wasn't true.
Yeah, man. Look. Wow.
So, dude, so here's the thing. I have to throw this out. If I could, no stories here, just two things. Salt is a poison. Research it. I'm not.
Hello.
Oh, Chris.
Chris, you went out for a sec.
Yeah, you're going in and out.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, yeah, salt is a poison. Research it. If you're hearing this, research it. It's the one thing that makes sure that you die on time. For the powers that were, they don't want you to be hundreds of years old and seeing through their bullshit. They want you to die at 100 years after you've collected seashells for 15 or 20 years, after working your whole fucking life for them, and being just as stupid as you were at the start. You know, you didn't learn how to teleport. You didn't learn how to talk with your mind. You didn't learn shit. You learned how to believe a religion, and then you're dead, and you find out it's not true.
And you know, you're so on point, because my good brother of mine, he did die, but he was the one that brought me into esoteric knowledge, and he was in the military for a few years. He was the one that, when I was 19 years old, he revealed to me how, you know, the military technology is like 80 to 100 years ahead of our time, maybe even more. But he was telling me that there is a design. Even when you look at the Bible tells you what? The demon gods tell you that you are promised 70. And based on the amount of abuse that you put on the avatar, we could kind of, you know, give a, you know, kind of a lifespan to see what the human being can live based on that abuse. And don't live as long, we don't realize what these sorcerers do to us.
Yes.
We don't realize it. So it's like, then you stay in that perpetual cycle, then to birth another baby that just damned into the same thing. You literally birthed the baby into a system that you don't even understand. You don't even get it. And the longer you live, the more you pierce through, and you be like, you know what, this shit don't make no damn sense, dog. It don't. So it's like that. One of the first things he said, and then he told me there was no such thing as natural causes for death, and that's what started my journey. Now we got into the whole the reptilian. He talked about extraterrestrials that was living off of the human soul and stuff like that. But it really was. It did spark that unknowing in me to say, like, wow, like it's so deep, and people don't really get like this. It's much bigger than, you know, because you know the news talking about the Black Lives Matter thing, and it's amazing how they create all these externalities. And what these archons do is they will stage world events to get an emotional reaction out of you, you know, to always keep you focused on 3D events, but not to build on the primordial power, you know? Just my fact.
Right. No, it's true. And I've been caught up in it at times, as I'm sure you noticed. But that whole thing with death, though, dude, it's so big. It's like, you know, I'm going to tell you, I see it so clearly now how they brainwash us. Here's one thing. Why are the cemeteries right up against the road when you drive through town? Drive through some little town, it's fucking cemetery right there. Like, hey, don't forget, you're going to be dead, you know, when you're 80 or 100, whatever the fucking age. And then when you talk to people about living a long time, they can't even conceive. You know, I'll talk about this. I'll say, yeah, we're limitless and da da da. And the guy will say, yeah, man, my grandfather lived to be 105. And I'm like, oh, God, I can't even talk to you right now. Like,
yeah. Well, my grandfather ate meat every day, and he lived to 102.
Yeah, big fucking deal. He should be living to thousands. I don't even want to hear this shit anymore. This 100. Oh, I'm a centurion. No, you're a fucking dumb baby still. You're a dumb. I'm a dumb baby, dude. I'm a dumb fucking baby. I'm still dumb.
I like how Chris is keeping real, boy.
I'm just learning, man. I'm just learning. We're all just learning still, but
we're all learning, growing each other, and that's how it should be.
Yeah,
that's right. But we know we could be here. Sorry.
Just saying, the true master forever remains a student. You know.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's right. But I know that we're physically immortal if we want to be. That's one thing I'm not gonna forget. That's
when I learned about right spinning the blood, I got so many confirmations from that. There's something called left spin blood in the medical field, and if the blood is spinning left, you're more prone to diseases, deterioration. So what they would do in terms of right spin blood, they would take an athlete who's injured or whatever. Many known celebrities have done this. It's a pretty expensive procedure, but they take your quote unquote blood plasma and they put it into a blood spinner, and the blood spinner would like spin it like I think 110 times or more. I could be totally wrong about this number, but regardless, it just spins it, and then they inject it back into the athlete, and the athlete will heal 10 times faster than they normally would heal. So something simple as like blood spinning, it just, you know, the human body is one of the greatest technologies beyond water itself. Water itself is a technology. Now scientists are alluding to that. Water is a technology. And now you hear the Eastern science and the Western science and science the scienceology of everything just mixing all together in terms of new age, but it really isn't new age. It's just everything has just been lost and forgotten. Now we're remembering
and hidden, because it's corporate
and
science. And I have no respect for most so-called science, honestly, because it's funded to find a result that they want that makes them more money, whatever. But it's nice of them to start catching up with us and figure it out and figuring out what we already know. We already know this.
They so behind by metaphysicians and spiritualists is like, and then I told, people don't get that the pharmaceutical industry spends way more money on advertising than they do actual science. Like if you put a cut on the TV, it's just every new damn drug,
You know what? And to a better, I mean, it's a different level. It's not as toxic. It's not toxic really, but it is. It is actually. When you put stuff in you that you don't need, it's toxic because the body has to work to get it out. And it's also usually not raw, a supplement, a vitamin, whatever. It's usually positively charged, dead, inorganic matter that you're putting back into your body. So your body has to work to get rid of it. It's toxic. It's work. So we don't need any of that stuff. And that's why you'll never, ever, you guys, you don't have to hold me to this because you're going to see this, but you'll never see me promote anybody's supplements ever. Now, some people, maybe they use it as a kind of a crutch, a bridge, whatever you want to call it. But we don't need any of that shit. Everything we need is inside of us and all around us. So we can be completely dirt poor, no money, and be the absolute healthiest people on the planet with nothing. The poorest people.
There's this one company I almost worked with, and I said to myself, like, it doesn't make sense for me as a person on this journey, and I've never even taken their supplements and any of that, but it just does make sense for me to just be part of something like that in terms of the supplementation, knowing what I know and the experience that I've experienced myself. It just doesn't make sense for me living mainly on coconut water and urine in that sense to just promote something that is so unnecessary.
Yes.
So unnecessary. It just doesn't make sense. It's just
you're not trying to turn it into a hustle, That's what it is. Like you see, and this pisses so much illusions in this realm. Like even just to see how, Chris, how you paved the way with just your own blood plasma.
Yeah.
You got people that make. I mean, it's just so much products, bro, and they'll list off, well, it has this magnesium and zinc. It's the story behind it.
Yep, that's what people are buying into.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't even know it in your urine.
No. See, the thing is, dude, science and religion and everything else all teaches us that we're limited, that we're weak, that we need help, or that we're just downright filthy in the eyes of God, and all this stuff. So we're taught all this disempowering information. Of course we think we need a fucking supplement from some guy, or we need this or that, because we don't even trust in ourselves anymore. We've been trained to not trust ourselves. They don't want people trusting themselves.
Sorry, Chris, my brother my boy, the other breatharian, who helps people, he gives them supplements based on how much they trust in self. So mine isn't strong enough and isn't capable of the healing, and they don't have that, they can't cultivate themselves to that self-knowledge, then he would have some type of supplement or herb or whatever, because their minds are in such a compromised state that just like if someone broke their leg and they need that crutch for the moment, he would give it to someone based on how much they trust in self. Because when he talked to me, he's like, okay, you don't need that shit. So it's right. because not everyone just could jump in because they get scared, bro. The fear comes in.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Yes.
when you don't have that self-acceptance, that when you have that trauma, that self-denial is the number one thing that diminishes our immortality, you know, and we got to get past that self-denial. And the main thing I think people are waking up to, especially when they listen to this and we work on spreading this knowledge, is that the biggest secret in life is who and what you truly are. You know,
we're gods, man. I mean, you know,
that's for me.
People get triggered by that word because they think in terms of religion and that you're claiming to be the guy that they're supposed to worship. No, that's not what it means. It just means that you are self-contained, you are divine, and you do not need anything from anybody ever.
We're literally limitless beings.
We are limitless beings, and it's hidden in comic strips too. Our abilities are hidden in comics.
Yeah,
fucking crazy,
absolutely.
man.
And anime.
So,
Yes.
So Mark, you know Haile Selassie, right?
Yep.
Yes, you definitely should know him because I saw you post something about him too. But one of the many stories is this assassination on him. They try to assassinate him at the Leagues of Legends, not League of Legends, or the UN. I forget what the UN was called back then. But he was giving a speech, and they tried to assassinate him. The killer goes with the gun straight to his face, and he just stares at the assassin into the eyes. And then sooner or later, the assassin starts crying and then starts crumbling down. So many yogis, they say that that's one of his superpowers in that sense. And sure enough, I was watching this anime called Code Geass, and in the anime, this person has the power to you look into his eyes, and then he'll beam at you this symbol of a bird, and the bird will get into the person's subconscious, and it'll create a lock in the neuropathic pathways. So I'm like, are they alluding to Haile Selassie's one of his practices? It all makes sense, and there's a practice with ninjas in that aspect as well. I forgot which sect of ninja do that, but the eyes are powerful. The eyes is a powerful weapon itself.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Hell yes. Why is it that somebody could be across a crowded room and staring at the back of my head, and I know it? I feel it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy, dude.
Man. Yeah, I think there's something called people gazing or whatever, but there's this guy who will like gaze into that's what he does. He does people gaze. And then he travels all over, and then when you're in his presence, you'll start like crying or whatever. And he says it's just mainly because I people gaze or something like that.
Interesting.
Dude, I think we could have quite a few podcasts here.
Yeah, we've been going on for a while.
You know, man.
Yeah, we could have a lot. We could have another one sometime. I don't know if you guys want to.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Well, of course, bro. Shoot, this ain't no farewell. You know.
No. The world needs to think right now.
But you know what I really like about our interaction? It was so authentic and organic, because sometimes when I when I kind of go in a room, whether it's Rastas, whether it's Hebrew Israelites, whether, I don't know, it's like it was the synchronization was good. No one tried to outdo, or I don't know. I felt that before, when, everyone just kind of bounced off each other. I just love the energy, man. I really appreciate you too. And you two really motivated me to really like, wow, like, man, time to step up,
Hey, Likewise with both of you. There's no levels here. We're all on a path, and we're all perfecting. We're all on a path. So I appreciate you guys. I really do. This was it was almost like hanging out, with a couple of people that I don't have around me, and I don't have this kind of conversation with everybody now. I have a girlfriend. I want to say that I have a girlfriend, and she's amazing, and she's basically a female version of me. And we have these kinds of conversations. But
same.
I'm with a couple, divine masculine men here, and this is nice interaction. I appreciate it.
Hey, we can be here for a while, bro. So all of us can probably make a community or village or something in the future. So,
Yeah, we're gonna be talking more. So who knows what we're gonna be talking about?
Yeah, I'm definitely up for that conversation.
Yeah,
cool.
Definitely. And guys, I am writing a book. Chris, I am using one of your quotes.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe it. Use it, man. Steal it. No, okay, that's cool. Which one? I'm curious.
No, it's not a quote. It's just your experience. You made a post on Facebook, man. I'm just copy and paste, man. And then I'm gonna put I want to put your website. I want to do the same with Devon. Like I kind of want to, if y'all have a website or something, I'd love to.
Our highest potential is mine.
Yeah. Highest potential, and the same with Devon. You have your link tree, like.
Yes, my link tree. It's literally linktr.ee/the Black AirBender.
Okay. Because I want to give people references to more things like this to get, because, that's what so the name of the book is The Abused Avatar. It is about physical immortality, so I plan on it being done by the end of September.
Oh, beautiful.
Dude, it's cool. You have a timeline. I have a book in the works that's been in the works for over a year now.
Yeah, I don't want to, if I don't put a deadline, I know how life gets, man, so.
Yeah.
And because I have an online course and I'm transcribing. If you have recordings already, you just go back and transcribe your recordings and you could format the book. That's
what I'm doing for my third book. Like all my Instagram posts will be like a collage, if you will.
You guys still there?
There'll be more detail.
Absolutely. I'm doing the same with my Facebook posts over the past couple of years. So, but it's a lot to look forward to, man. This really was a breath of fresh air, and it's not a talk. It's really not really a talk, really, besides like outside of y'all and stuff. So I don't really, I guess we just bringing forth the world, the new world, a new earth, or, so.
It's how we do it, man. The words, the manifestation, the thoughts, and then we spread those thoughts to other people. They start manifesting. That's how we change.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely. I just want to say thank you all. Thank you guys for sharing the breath.
Thank you. Hey, man, if you have a link you want to share, just a reminder. If you have one, I accept. Anything you think is good, for breath work, something that you trust that would be good for somebody who's really active and goes long periods of dry.
Oh, okay. I literally have on my YouTube, Devon AirBender. I have a couple sessions you can just follow along. And just look for Alchemy breathwork, breathing with threes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
All right. And Devon,
for someone like you can go a long way with that.
Oh man, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Really.
Imagine, man. And Devon, we're gonna be doing that one-on-one with you soon, probably by next week. So that's
all right, bro.
Looking forward.
Sounds good.
All right, brothers. Well, I mean, really, really appreciate it. And I know that the people that can listen in, I know there's so much value that was shared in this, so until next time.
I'm going to message you, Mark, I'm going to message you after this thing real quick, send you a question. I'll leave it off the podcast, but I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.